Ill-Equipped History, where two best friends who are not professional historians tell you a story about history because it's fun.
Yeah.
Morgan, how are you?
I'm so good. How are you?
I am great. I had a wonderful weekend, and I have a very funny, nerdy story to tell you if you want to hear it.
I would love to hear it.
Okay, so for y'all that listen to the Battle of Athens episodes, because I still live close to where I was born and raised, we ended up going to a party of a friends of ours. They hold a party every year, and it's a beer pong competition in honor of their anniversary. And They had a beer pong competition at their wedding. They're really great people. So this year, they hosted it at the building in downtown Athens that they are renting from some friends of theirs. And that building just so happens to be where the old waterworks building location was on Jackson Street. And if you listen to the Battle of Athens episode, this is where Tom Gillespie was shot and where a lot of election fraud happened. And it was like a integral part of this story. And I think it's really cool that, like, what is it, 85 years later, I'm just like in that room playing beer pong with some friends.
Yeah.
Cool. So I was already at peak nerd at this party thinking about this, right? And my husband, like he does, starts talking to the owner of the building who is our age. And of course they start talking about boats and other things. And he takes us into the back, where he just has a bunch of stuff. And he was showing Nick. Well, I start wandering around. And I start looking through books. And the dude's like, you can have whatever you want for $20. And I was like, bet. I am now in possession from a beer pong party. The Fall of Fortress Europe. Reader's Digest Illustrated of World War II. History Buff's Guide to World War II. D-Day. Aces. Hi, it's about two fighter pilots in World War II. The Great Commanders of World War II. And then...
She's so excited, you guys.
World War I. And the best. The greatest war stories never told.
Wow.
I am like holding these up to the camera to show Morgan like I'm Vanna White. I mean, this one isn't just about like World War I or II. It's got like... It had the Battle of Jenkins' Ear in it.
Oh, really?
It has, like, America's Worst General, The Fever Factor, The War of Bad Timing, The Art of War, Burial Ground, I mean, these are, like, the Christmas Truce. I think I know about this one.
Yeah, I think so, too.
But, so I leave this party with a stack of history books in my hand. Like a fucking weirdo. Everyone's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I have a podcast and it's hard to find books.
That's amazing. I'm so happy for you.
I don't know if I should be like proud of myself or really
you should.
Concerned.
You got probably like $120 worth of books for $20.
Yeah, they're $8.
Books are so expensive. Like, I love buying books. It's definitely a guilty pleasure of mine, but every time I buy books, I'm like, oh, it's so expensive.
Also, where do you put it? I've literally been asking for a saw for my birthday every year so I can build myself some bookshelves. I'm running out of space.
I get cheap ones from Walmart. They're full of books anyway, you can't tell.
That's true. I need like built-ins because of the way my living room wall is.
Yes.
But... Okay, Morgan, do you have any fun stories from this weekend?
I do, actually. So, one of my friends invited me to a Halloween, like, haunted soiree.
Yeah.
In the Nashville area this past weekend. It was a lot of fun. I actually made a friend, one of the bartenders, lives in Athens. And I overheard her telling some people about it. And, you know, we did the like, oh my gosh, I love your dress. Oh my gosh, I love your top. You live in Athens? I'm from Athens. And she gave me free drinks, and it was really great.
Yeah. Is she an Athens transplant? Did she move to Athens?
Yes. I think she said she was from Meg's, which I don't want to, like, dox her or anything, but...
okay. So she's not from far away.
No, but she's from the area. Oh. And I was like, I went to Mittman County High School, and she was like, wow.
Wow.
But it was a really cool night. We got to interact with, like, the actors. We had to solve a mystery.
That's really cool.
The first thing we did is we were part of, there was, like, this room upstairs that was hosting, like, a little play of sorts. I got to act as a chicken. I tried out, and I got the part. And I got to
be the chicken.
I got to go up on stage and act like a chicken skull with its eyes burning with fire.
An angry chicken.
And I had to give my best jazz hands.
Can you please act that out for me real quick? I want to know.
Oh, so when we were doing the audition, she was like, the actress who was amazing. She came to me and she said, I feel that you have a great talent. Let me hear your best chicken. And I went, Baga! And then she went around the room, and then she came back to me, and I was, of course, in the front row, sitting next to my friend, because there were 2 seats open, and we were like, let's go sit in these 2 seats. And the rest of our friends were standing in the back. And she came back to me, and she was like, try again. And I did again. She's like, with more power, and I went, Baga! And then she, like, threw her hands up in the air. She's like, yes, this is exactly what I mean. Such talent. And I got to go up on stage and act like a chicken. And then another girl in our group, she actually got taken away by one of the actors. And we were like, where is she? Where'd she go? And they actually took her and gave her a tarot reading.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was really cool.
I want to be swept away. I want to be stolen in the night just for a tarot reading and then nicely placed back.
Yeah, no, it was really great. And we thought we had to go find her, so like we went to some other places and we couldn't find her. And then we found her, and she was like, "Oh yeah, they just took me for a tarot reading." The actor that was talking to us was like telling us part of the story, and they, like, got, like, a feeling from her, and, like, I'm taking you with me, so. But, yeah, it was really cool. I felt very, like, haughty Victorian, because there were, like, dancers and singers, and us just, like, gawking at, like, weird things happening, and we're like, ho, 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 look at our fancy cocktail solving the murder mystery.
Oh, my God. So, that sounds wonderful.
It was so much fun.
There's a murder!
Yeah.
I haven't done one of those in a long time. I'm pretty sure I was in high school the last time I did, like, one of those murder mystery theater type things. Was I with you?
No. I've never gone to, like, a dinner. I remember you going, because it was in Chattanooga, right?
Yeah.
I remember you going there, but I didn't go.
Yeah, I did.
But it was so funny, because the next day, I actually did, like, a virtual one on my phone with another friend. And we walked around downtown Nashville. It's a geo game. It's called Clued Up. And you can, like, purchase the tickets, quote unquote. But it was, like, months in advance. But, like, the clues are, like, specific to your location. So, like, it, like, take us to a place, like, look around for a clue. And we would have to, like, use our environment to, like, do clues. I had to scream into my phone in front of a bunch of people standing in line to go see Wicked. We were, like, waving our phones in the air to, like, create a defensive spell, because it's Harry Potter themed.
Oh, that's cool.
But we got to walk around downtown Nashville, and it was really fun.
That sounds really fun.
So, that was my weekend.
I like it.
I didn't do anything else except those things.
That's a good weekend. It's a good weekend. It was also my husband's birthday weekend, so I made a cake. Yes. It's a chocolate chip cake with chocolate, cream cheese, icing.
Happy birthday, Nick. Kyle's is on Thursday. And I already have his present. I can't make him a cake because he can't eat sugar, but I got him his present like months ago. This will come out after his birthday. But
I got Nick a cake.
There you go. That's fine. We went to go see the Barbie movie, and
yeah.
Have you seen the Barbie movie yet?
No.
You need to go see it.
You know how I am with movies.
I know, but
I'll procrastinate and then I'll never watch it.
I got him a sweatshirt that says "I am Kenneth," but it's like officially licensed Mattel.
I like it.
If you've seen the Barbie movie, you know what sweatshirt I'm talking about.
I know of the sweatshirt. I don't know 100% the context of it, but I have seen it.
You need to see the movie. Next time I'm at your house, I'll bring it with me and we can watch it.
Okay.
Anyway, we're over 10 minutes into our intro.
Damn it. Not again. Okay, guys, I swear, we'll get into this. Let's do it. March 18th, 1990, Boston, Massachusetts. 2 security guards at the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum were working the overnight shift when 2 police officers rang the buzzer at the door.
Boston PD, responding to a disturbance call. Please let us in.
The guard breaks protocol and allows the officers into the building. I'm sorry, officers, but there's no one here who made a call for help.
Are you working alone tonight, son?
No, sir. The other guard is out on his rounds.
We're going to need him to come here.
The guard calls the other guard over the radio. While the second guard is on his way, one of the officers says to the first guard,
You look familiar. I think there's a warrant out for your arrest. I'm going to need you to step out from behind that glass.
The guard does what he is told, all while professing his innocence. The second guard arrives at that time and the police officers handcuff both men. What the hell is going on?
Gentlemen, this is a robbery.
The robbery of the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum is still the biggest art heist in the world. It's also one of the most mysterious and unsolved.
Oh, I love art heists.
This fucking story. Oh my god. Okay. For one, listeners, this episode is coming out on National Go to an Art Museum Day, so go to an art museum today.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. 2, we almost went to this freaking museum, Morgan. This is the museum. This is the museum that we didn't know that all the tickets were, like, purchased because we should have, like, pre-ordered them. That's how unorganized we were in Boston, y'all. But we went to, the bigger art museum. What's it called? Just the Art Museum of Boston? National Art Museum of Boston? Oh shit, I can't think of it now. But we went to one, and it turns out they're basically beside each other.
Yeah.
And so we walked over there, and we couldn't get in, and I was really disappointed. We knew nothing about this story. It was only a couple months later when we came home that Nick just happened to put on the documentary of this, and we watched it. And I was like, I can't believe I didn't go in there. I'm so upset. So I ended up rewatching the whole 4-episode documentary on this. And it's a bit of a rabbit hole. So let's get into, first off, what the museum is before we go into the heist. So, who is Isabella Stewart Gardner? And why does she have a museum? So, Isabella was born in New York City on April the 14th of 1840. And I got this information off of the website. It just stated her dad. I don't know who her mother is.
Okay.
Which is rude. But David Stewart was her father, and he imported Irish linen and then later made investments that made him and his family wealthy.
Okay.
Wealthy. They lived on University Place in West Village, where Isabella was privately educated in New York and then finished abroad in Paris.
Ooh.
I know, bougie. So, while in Paris, a schoolmate, Julia Gardner, introduced Isabella to her brother, John Lowell Gardner Jr. But he went by Jack. So Jack Gardner.
Okay.
In 1860, just a few days before turning 20, Isabella and Jack married in Grace Church in New York City. They moved to his hometown of Boston, Massachusetts, and settled into Back Bay at 152 Beacon Street. And it was a bougie-ass house, and it was a wedding gift from her dad. I just got "damn dad" next to it.
Very nice.
Jeez. Very nice. Anyway. So, in 1863, the Gardners had a son, John Lowell Gardner III, who they called Jackie, but died of pneumonia at less than 2 years old.
Oh.
I know. And Isabella, understandably, went into a depression. And one of her doctors told her that travel would help with that depression. So Jack took her to Northern Europe and Russia, and she realized that she just absolutely adored traveling. So this would be the first of many trips abroad, later including Egypt and the Middle East between 1874 and 1875, and Asia between 1883 and 1884. And she loved to travel, and she kept elaborate journals of her visits. And she was drawn into the intellectual life of Boston and Cambridge. And in 1873, she attended the readings of Charles Eliot Norton, the first professor of art history at Harvard, which is really cool. And Norton then asked her to join the Dante Society, which is a society that promotes the study and appreciation of the life and work of Dante Alighieri. I don't know how to say his last name, I'm going to be honest. I just know him as Dante. Don't come at me. So from here, she began to study and collect rare books and manuscripts, and it all started with Dante's earliest works. But it then kind of started to expand into just other things in general, artwork, old stuff. So, in 1884, Isabella and Jack visited the Palazzo Barbaro in Venice, a Venetian palace owned by two Bostonians, Daniel and Ariana Curtis. This palace became a meeting place of a group of American and English expatriates. Is that how you say that? Mm-hmm. Expatriates?
Or expats,
including the painters John Singer Sargent, James McNeill Whistler, and Ralph Curtis, and a famous art connoisseur, Bernard Berenson.
Bernard. Of course, he's an art critic.
Yeah.
Bernard
Berenson. And this palace became a major inspiration for Isabella to create the museum. And then Berenson became her chief art advisor. So she really wanted a place where people could come and see just art from all over. A real pioneer of her time for something like this. And Berenson wrote about Isabella that she, quote, "She lives at a rate and intensity with a reality that makes others seem pale, thin, and shadowy." So apparently she was a very outgoing person.
Vivacious.
She makes other people look pale, thin, and shadowy. Okay.
I'm about to, like, I was just thinking, like, you guys, I feel like y'all have a lot in common. Like, you literally left with a stack of books, like, from a beer pong party. And she collected books. And y'all are both vivacious.
Thank you. Oh, this is the best compliment. I'm going to hide now. I don't know what to do with compliments. So she's just out there getting it, just collecting all of her stuff. So December 10th of 1898, when she was 58 years old, I don't know how old her husband was, but Jack died of a stroke, which is a big old bummer. But Isabella pursued, and 6 weeks later, she continued on with the plans to purchase a plot of land in the Fens and selected local architect Willard T. Sears to draw plans for her museum. And at the time, there were almost no other buildings in the area. Someone referred to it as basically a swamp.
Really?
Which is hard to imagine.
Yeah, because it's all super urban right now. Like, it's all developed. Yeah.
We literally rode the train and basically ended up at the front steps of the bigger art museum. Like, it...
Yeah.
Incredible. I want you to open the weekly skit again.
Mm-hmm.
So I forgot I have pictures. So this first one is Isabella in 1850-ish, when she was around 10 years old.
All right.
And if you go down, that's Isabella and Jack in 1860, the year they were married.
Okay.
What a mustache.
That is quite a mustache.
I'm always going for the mustaches. Yeah. Yes. And then if you go down one more, these are the watercolor sketches of the museum from the architect. Okay. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, it's very beautiful.
And it pretty much basically looks like that.
My only concern is, like, because it looks like it's open to the sky. That looks like marble flooring.
Not.
Okay.
It is not. There is a glass ceiling on it.
Okay, good. Yes. Because I was like, that's a lot of marble. And when it rains, that marble is just going to absorb all that rain. It's not going to go well.
Yeah. And when you see actual pictures of it, you'll see that those walkways are actually open. Oh, so they're just kind of out there.
Okay.
They would be in the elements if there was no roof.
Right.
Don't scroll down just yet. You'll get into something that's later on. Okay. So, the museum, the construction of that. The construction of the museum began in 1899 and was completed in late 1901. She moved into the private fourth floor of the museum and devoted her life to personally arranging the art she had collected throughout the galleries, along with continuing to collect more pieces. For the rest of her life, she lived in the museum.
Oh.
I know. Isn't that just like... It was her life's work. And this is hilarious to me. She wanted to test the acoustics of the building before its grand opening, because she would also host concerts and performances and stuff like that. But the kicker was, she didn't want anybody to see the artwork, see the museum, but she needed bodies in there to test the acoustics, because sound bounces and it will sound different with people in the room.
Right.
So you know what her solution was? She called down to the School for the Blind.
Oh my God.
And she had them come and listen to the music.
So I was thinking like she blindfolded people.
No. She just called blind people.
That's hilarious.
But also, how cool for those blind students to be able to experience something before anybody else literally ever has. So I think it's really cool.
That is really cool, and it is very funny. Like, no one can see what I have in store, but you can listen to it.
You can listen. So, on January the 1st of 1903, she hosted an invitation-only grand opening celebration with music, art, and horticulture. The word horticulture is back. All I thought about was the emu episode when I read horticulture. And there was a concert by members of the Boston Symphony Orchestra.
Ooh.
And a dramatic unveiling of the interior courtyard garden. So that painting that you saw, the interior is like plants. It's all plants.
I love that.
It's beautiful. Yep. And the next month, the museum was opened to the public. So over the next 20 years, Isabella collected art, organized concerts, lectures, exhibitions, everything in her museum. She did it herself. Unfortunately, in 1919, she suffered a stroke, but continued to receive guests into her museum for the next 5 years. She passed in 1924 at the age of 84. And this is where her interesting will comes into play. So she left the museum, quote, for the education and enjoyment of the public forever, end quote. And she provided an endowment to operate the museum, stipulating in her will that nothing of the galleries should be changed and no items be acquired or sold from the collection. What she did, that was it. You can't add anything. You can't sell it off. If anything were to be permanently changed, including the building, I'm assuming if you changed the wallpaper or tore a wall down or something, she said the entire collection should be crated off and shipped off to Paris and auctioned off, and the money go to Harvard University.
Wow.
So she made sure that building wasn't that nothing was changing.
She's like, it's going to be like the last time I saw it forever.
Yeah. Yeah. And with, minor changes, like I think they've added a little, a place to receive the people in, like maybe like a ticket booth area, something like that. But they've added it kind of to the outside of the building, so it's not like they've messed up anything on the inside. Obviously, when this was built, they didn't have like central heating and air. They have since added stuff like that to preserve it, but they're not changing anything.
That's very interesting. And, like, I can understand, like, her not wanting any of her very precious things to be, sold or on loan or anything. That's very interesting. She's like, you can't obtain anything new either.
Listen, you hear those stories about, like, ghosts getting really mad about you changing their stuff? Maybe she just wants to haunt the museum until, I don't know, she decides she doesn't want to anymore. She wants it just how she liked it.
I mean, you know what? That makes sense. She's like, I'm coming back here in the afterlife, and if y'all change my shit, I'm going to lose my shit.
Yeah. Yeah, just might as well sell it off, and I'll wander the earth like, Stingy Jack. Looking for my artwork. All right, so the heist.
All right.
I might add some I just thought maybe it'd be cool if I added some
like a sound effect,
suspenseful music. Yeah, suspense. Boom. Heist. And again, for time's sake, I don't have time to go through 4 hours worth of a documentary because that's basically how long this thing was. So if you want to watch the documentary, I highly suggest it. They go into great detail about everything. And it's called This Is a Robbery, and it's just on Netflix.
Okay.
So, there you go. Okay. The heist. So March 18th, 1990. Do you know what March 18th is? It's St. Patrick's Day.
Okay. I was like, my brain was like, Ides of March. So I was like, no, that's the 15th. It's the 18th.
Not that far back. St. Patrick's Day. So, in 1990, the artwork that was stolen was worth over $200 million.
Oh my God.
It makes you sick to think about, doesn't it?
Let me do the math. And when I say let me do the math, I mean let me look that up really quick.
Let me Google the math.
Sorry, this is taking...
No, you were good.
It's over $470 million today.
You mean to tell me that the artwork is worth billion?
Almost $500 million.
Billion with a B?
Billion.
With a B. Sorry. I feel like I'm having the stroke, not Isabella. Oh my God.
Emily won $500 million.
Who was that? Doug Dimmadome from Doug's Dimmadome?
Doug's Dimmadome. Home of the
Dimsdale Dimmadome. His big old hat.
That's what you need to be for Halloween.
Okay. Damn it, yes. Okay. So, the museum was equipped with motion detectors. So their movements were recorded. And the director at the time was Anne Hawley, and she was, the poor woman, had only been the director for 6 months.
Oh no.
When this happened. And she was brought in to bring the museum back to life. Apparently at the time the museum hadn't really connected with the community in a long time. And the previous directors just kind of, they just weren't doing it for the museum. So they brought her in. She was doing some really big things, and then this happened.
Oh, man.
But she stayed on until 2016. So she was the director for a very long time. Yeah. I guess it would just be easier to get into, let's just go time by time, and then I'll tell you interesting facts, and then we'll get into some, theories. Okay.
Sounds good.
If you want to, a floor plan of the museum.
Okay.
And you're going to want to go to, I think it's, there's a new wing first floor.
New wing first floor?
Just start at the palace first floor, so page 4.
Okay.
Okay. So, and I don't know exactly where the entrances are that they took. Because I don't know. I'm sure they're not going to tell you where the security office and stuff is. So, yeah, bear with us on that. So, at midnight, and I did not state this before, the robbery happened between 1:24 a.m. and 2:45 a.m. on St. Patrick's Day, and it a total of 81 minutes they were in the building, which is a long ass time, by the way.
It is a long time. So, I guess I just wanted to clarify, it's like the very, very early hours of St. Patrick's Day, right?
Yes.
Okay. So it's not like the town of Boston is like super crazy after a night of St. Patrick's Day that this happened.
Well, I think it was a weekend.
Oh, okay.
And I think that because that's actually part of it, is that one of the reasons why this went off pretty much without a hitch was because I think the parade was going on, or had been going on, and everyone was on the opposite end of town. All the police officers and everyone was on the opposite ends of town. So it was like a ghost town on this part of the town. Okay. So at midnight, Rick takes the first round. Rick is an important person in this story. Where a fire alarm goes off. I don't know what room the fire alarm goes off in, but he goes while making his rounds and shuts off the fire alarm. He then comes back to relieve the other guard at the office, but on his way, an alarm, motion detector or whatever, alerts that he opened an outside door and then closes it back before going back to the office. There's really no reason for that door to be open on his rounds. And the door was opened and closed about 10 to 15 minutes before the thieves show up. And no one knows why. Because there's no good reason for that door to be open. I mean, why would you have it open? You're not trying to go outside.
Right. Unless it was to, like, signal. She just gave me...
She quit, guys. She quit.
She gave me finger guns.
I did. Why?
I got the double pistol finger guns.
Double loaded finger guns. So, around 12:45, 2 witnesses are walking home from a party, and they claim to see a car with its running lights on parked next to the museum, and this car had 2 police officers inside, but it was a civilian car.
Okay.
And the car seemed to be something like a Dodge Daytona or something. I mean, nothing spectacular. And they thought that maybe it was some undercover cops, that they were going to bust a party because they were either on their way to a party or heading back from a party. And they were like, let's just go home.
Mm-hmm.
So they did. At 1:24 a.m., so they've been out there for at least 45 minutes-ish,
mm-hmm.
you know. The men approach the door. So 2 men in Boston PD uniforms push the buzzer. And like in our skit, they stated that they were responding to a disturbance call and requested to be let in. Now, from the guard's perspective, that would make sense. A fire alarm went off earlier, right? Yeah. But why? Now I'm just thinking about it. Why wouldn't the fire department show up? Anywho, so the guard on duty broke protocol and allowed them through the employee entrance. And apparently there's like 2 doors and like a glass for the guard to be separate from. There's like a little waiting hallway thing with 2 locked doors. So the guard broke protocol and let them into this little waiting area. And the guards, or the police officers were like, are you working alone tonight? And he was like, no, I've got another person making his rounds. And they're like, you need to get him down here right now. While the second guard was coming down, the first guard was, you know, like sitting there waiting. And the police officer was like, you look really familiar. I think you have a warrant out for your arrest. I need you to step around here so I can talk to you about that. And they both apparently got arrested. The office door was kicked in, so I guess they were able to, like, get in there to open the other doors. I don't know exactly the logistics of how all that happened, but the 2 guards got handcuffed. And apparently, one of the thieves got real dramatic there for a minute and like leaned into one of their ears and was like, gentlemen, this is a robbery.
Ugh, I hate
like,
that.
Like leaned in and just said it.
Like I'm just
so
imagining
dramatic.
it. I hate, and I mentioned this when I was talking about my experience at the haunted house. Like, I hate it when people talk into my ear. Like, where I can feel like their breath in my ear. I hate it.
Like, I can't.
And I'm just imagining being absolutely terrified. One, being accused of like having a warrant out for your arrest and being arrested by police officers when you probably didn't do anything. And then all this other stuff happening and them going, this is a robbery.
Dead. I would die on the spot.
Hate it.
Also, like, maybe don't break protocol.
Yeah.
I know they look like police officers, but...
Yeah. That's... And, like, it is not... I don't know. Like, you know, I understand, like, oh, these are cops. Like...
Yeah.
There's something
you gotta let them in.
Going on. So, I think, like, just in the future, like, the protocols, like, don't break protocol for anybody.
Yeah.
You know.
And one of the reasons that they pulled them away from the office is because there was a button in the office to call for help.
Right.
So they were luring them away from that.
From the silent alarm, yeah.
Yeah. So the guards were then handcuffed. Honestly, if it was me, I think I would have hit it anyway. Because if I'm really in trouble, what's more police officers going to hurt?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Anywho, they were probably stressed. I'm not. You know. So, the guards were then handcuffed, and then they took them into the creepy-ass basement and tied them to pipes.
Oh, no.
40 feet from each other, and, like, straight up duct taped their face. Okay, so go back to the skit.
Oh, no.
And now scroll down. Look how they duct taped this man. That's Rick.
Oh, my gosh.
Poor Rick and his...
He looks muzzled.
Yeah.
Oh, and his super long curly hair is all taped, too.
I know. And, I mean, he could still breathe. His mouth wasn't even covered up. Like, I don't know why they taped him around the chin like that.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. It looks like they taped over his nose, too.
And there's, like, a padding there. I don't know why.
Because usually you tape over the mouth so they don't scream.
Yeah, no, his mouth wasn't taped up.
That's very odd. I don't understand that at all.
Yeah. I don't know. And apparently one of the robbers kept going down and checking on the guards to make sure they were comfortable.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know. Can't hate them too bad now. So... all of that started at 1:24 a.m., just as a recap. At 1:48, the thieves climbed the main staircase and walked down the second floor corridor overlooking the courtyard and into the Dutch room. So, they've started out down here. They've gone to the west cloister to go up the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to page 5. They've gone down the hallway into the Dutch room.
Okay.
And in the Dutch room, let's see, one thief leaves the Dutch room at 1:51 a.m., so just a couple minutes later, and goes through the early Italian and Raphael rooms and into the short gallery. So they've basically one of them has gone to the opposite end of the second floor.
Mm-hmm.
And they can't really tell exactly what's going on, only that there are motion detectors in these places.
Right.
So, at 1:54, alarms trip back in the Dutch room, and this is when the thieves have begun to remove artwork from the walls. Supposedly. At 1:56, the alarm suggests that both thieves are now in the Dutch room. So one of them has gone back into the Dutch room. At 2:08, one thief goes back into the short gallery. The only thing I can think of is maybe they needed to, like, talk about something of, like, what to get.
Yeah.
Because these rooms are full of artwork. And one thing you'll see is they weren't just, like, grabbing things off the wall. They bypassed tons of things that were worth even more to get to specific things. So, between 2:09 and 2:26 a.m., it's a mystery 18 minutes. None of the alarms go off during this time. They do know one thief is in the short gallery, one is in the Dutch room. So I guess they were both in there for about 20 minutes doing their thing. 2:27 to 2:28, at least one thief is in the Dutch room. They know that for sure. At 2:28 to 2:40, another mystery section of minutes. Detectors registered nothing. At 2:40, the inside door opens and closes. And then at 2:41, the outside door opens and closes. So one of them has left. At 2:45, 4 minutes later, the inside door opens and closes again, suggesting that they left at 2 separate times, 4 minutes apart from each other. And so like I said before, the thieves were in the building for a total of 81 minutes.
That's crazy that it took so long because, like, they tripped alarms, right? Like, it wasn't just...
They tripped motion detectors.
But there weren't any...
Only alarm.
Oh, okay.
The security at this place was not the best. They basically just relied on the security guards to trick the alarm. And I was going to get to this in a minute, but we can get to it now, that at the time, the central heating and air hadn't been installed in the building yet, and it was imperative that they get to that first to save the works of art. But in doing that, because the new director had only been there for 6 months, she had all these plans. She didn't have the time to get into the security issues and the central heating and air at the same time. Right. So she basically, which is what I would have done, pick the central heating and air first, and then we'll beef up the security.
Yeah, because I mean, even in the 90s, like, security cameras weren't really a thing yet. I'm sure there were some, but it wasn't like it is now, where they're very commonplace, like...
And good. I mean, we're talking 1990s technology, that it's all blurry.
Yeah.
So, real fast, let's get into the missing pieces of art.
Okay.
So, out of the Dutch room, they stole Rembrandt's Christ in the Storm on the Sea of Galilee, and it is Rembrandt's only seascape.
Wow.
Yeah. They took Rembrandt's A Lady and Gentleman in Black. Both of those are very sizable pieces of art. Very sizable. And they were, this hurts me, because I love art. They were cut from their frames. You could see in the pictures pieces of the canvas on the corners. They just cut it out.
That makes me really sad.
I know. So still in the Dutch room, Vermeer's The Concert, and there are not a lot of Vermeers in the world, Flink's Landscape with an Obelisk, and a small self-portrait etching by Rembrandt. They were all removed from their frames. Not cut, but physically, like, unscrewed and removed. And then an ancient Chinese bronze gu, or a beaker, basically like a little, kind of look like a flower vase.
Okay.
It was the oldest piece taken, and it was just swiped off a table. In the short room, there were 5 Degas drawings were taken, and they were all of, like, people riding horseback or things like that. And they were smaller, probably, I don't know, smaller than a piece of paper, kind of smaller.
Okay.
And I think they might have been taken whole, because the frames also weren't very bulky. But then in the blue room, Monet's Chez Tortoni was taken as well, and it was taken whole. It wasn't cut, but I think the frames were left.
Okay.
Out of even maybe the Degas drawings, maybe the frames were left, and they just took the artwork. So some really interesting things throughout the night. So, according to the documentary, at the night shift, nothing really ever happened. And the guards kind of were notorious for just kind of letting their guard down. Pun intended. And Rick and Randy were the night guards at the time. So, it was really interesting, the paintings So the paintings were cut out instead of screwed out, which you would think as someone, I don't know a whole lot about art. I appreciate it. Don't know finer details. Apparently, according to the documentary, it is actually kind of more time consuming to do that because of the different layers of canvas that there is.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost better to just unscrew it or take the whole damn thing.
Yeah, because...
But, yeah.
I watch, there's this YouTuber I watch, and he does fine art restoration. They're really nice videos. They're very comforting. But he, like, most canvas are just, like, tacked. So if, like, he's very careful, of course, but these people don't sound like they were being very careful. So they could probably honestly just rip the canvas off of the frames because they're just tacked. They're not even nails. They're just little tacks. So.
Yeah. But they decided to take them off the wall, and instead they just cut it out and went on.
Yeah.
And there was another painting that was taken off the wall, which was Rembrandt's self-portrait painting. So there's like a small one that's like the size of a postcard that was stolen. And then there's a really big self-portrait painting. The smaller one was just a sketch. The bigger one was a full painting.
Okay.
And it was taken off the wall, but it wasn't stolen.
Okay.
Yeah. So the FBI claims that the thieves knew what they were doing, that they were obviously prepared and knew what they wanted to get. Because some of the things that they grabbed were not worth near as much as the other things. And I just realized I did not say one of the things. Another thing that was stolen was a bronze eagle finial from a Neapolitanic.
Napoleonic?
I don't know, like Neapolitan. Yeah, Napoleon. Thank you. Flag.
Oh, okay.
A flag topper.
Yeah,
in
like
the
a
shape
standard.
of an eagle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Google it, y'all. It's a finial. So, they think they were out of time because they didn't actually unscrew all the screws. I think they eventually just, like, ripped the last screw out or something because they did take it.
Okay.
But, compared to all the other things, that thing was almost worthless.
Yeah.
That could have been taken. So, why that? Okay, so back to this. So, the sketch of Rembrandt, like I said, was the size of a postcard.
Yeah.
The frame it was in was no bigger than, like, my computer screen. Small.
Yeah.
Easy to just pick up and walk out. They took the time to take it out of the frame.
This is very strange.
So strange. So strange.
Like, I feel like at that point, it could almost, like, fit in a pocket or something. Like, why...
Yeah.
Why go through all the trouble to...
Yeah, why waste the time?
Yeah. Which, I mean, I kind of understand not cutting it out because it's already really small.
Yeah.
Like, the bigger canvases, like, you'd be losing, like, maybe an inch or two on each side of a big canvas, but overall, for the whole painting, it wouldn't impact that much. Whereas with a smaller painting, you're losing an inch on each side, and it's, like, half the painting. So, I do understand why they wouldn't, like, just cut it out, but still, like, why not just take the whole thing with you?
Yeah, tuck it up under your arm. It's going to be even harder just to carry the big Rembrandts than it would be without a frame, than it would be to just pick that up and go.
Right, and I'm sure they had bags with them to, like, carry everything in.
Had to have. The next section is called Knew Too Much? ? So when the police arrived the next morning, and what I didn't tell you is that those poor guards stayed in the basement until 8:15 in the morning.
Oh no, those poor guys.
I know. They were there. Okay, at 2:45, for reference, guys, is when the thieves left. They were there for like 6 more hours.
Oh. And was it Randy that's photographed?
Rick.
He just looks so sad.
Yeah.
Wait, so was Rick the security guard that opened the outside door?
Yeah.
Are you going to get into that?
I might touch on it a little bit.
Okay.
Why? What do you have?
I just, like, because earlier when I said that, like, opening the door and then closing it seems like it would be a signal.
Yeah.
And then he was taped up, but his mouth was not covered, and, like, the thieves, like, kept checking to make sure they were okay. Like, I don't know. It's just...
It seems suspicious, doesn't it?
It does seem a little suspicious, and, like, maybe he was, like, the fall guy for an inside job, like like made to look like a victim when he could have been in. I don't know. Like, I'm not going to accuse him of being a part of it. I don't know. Of course,
yeah.
That.
Oh, I'm thinking the same thing. I'm on the same page with you.
But I'm not going to.
It does seem very suspicious.
Accuse him of a crime when there's no evidence, and he has not been convicted of a crime.
Correct. And the documentary, actually, there was an interview with him. So,
okay.
He still claims that he had nothing to do with it. And the more you kind of... I'll get into it.
Okay.
I'll get into it. But let me tell you how they were found. Because I feel so bad for them. So the guards were found in the basement at 8:15. The guards that were coming in for their morning shift... weren't being let in by the night guards. So they were like, what the heck is going on? Why is nobody letting us in? So they called the chief of security. Chief of security came down, opened the door, and they found the security cameras had been moved. The office door had been busted in. A frame was found in the office. One of the painting's frames was found in the office on the desk chair. And a crowbar was leaning against the wall. And that's when they called the police. And this was probably 7:45-ish.
Okay.
When they 7:45, 8 o'clock. So when the police got there, they decided to start at the top and work their way down, which I'm sure is protocol. But those poor guards could probably hear everyone just down in the basement. They're just having to wait for them to work their way down to them. And I felt so bad. But they were very creepy looking basements. The documentary showed them. They refer to them as the tunnels.
Ooh.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Don't like that.
I don't like that. Mm-mm. So that's when they...
I'm still just looking at, like, this poor guy with his face duct taped, and it looks like he's got, like, a fanny pack. Like, his shirt isn't even fully buttoned up. It looks like his shirt has, like, gummy worm pattern on it or something. Like, very 90s.
Very 90s. Okay, scroll down one. And this is a printout of the
motion detectors, right?
The motion detectors, yeah. And you can see, investigate immediately.
I was looking at this, and it's very scary, honestly. Because it has, like, the date and then, like, the time that each of it goes off and, like, where it happened. And it just says, someone is in the Dutch room, investigate immediately, over and over and over again. It's kind of scary, honestly. Someone is in the Dutch room.
And one says status alarm, status normal, status alarm, alarm. You know, it's so weird. Okay, go down one more. And this is a crime scene photo from after the heist.
Wow.
I mean, look at the frames. You can tell, like... Yeah, that's the last one I have. If you look closely, you can see some of the canvas where, like, it was cut from the bigger one.
Yeah, like that, what's draped over the table.
Yeah. Well, no, not draped over the table. It's, like, still tucked in the corners of the frame.
Oh, okay.
Because they just cut it straight out of the frame. So it's still you can kind of see a little bit. I mean, they did cut it very close.
Yeah.
Which I guess I can... But it was so weird. That's the Dutch room.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's still like a bunch of art on the walls as well. So
this place is like loaded with art. So it's still just bizarre to me. Like, why?
I don't know.
Why these?
I wonder,
unless there was already an order for them.
That's what I was just thinking. Like, what if, like, they went in and, like, I don't know, took pictures of something and, like, had a buyer and was like, I want these specific pieces of art for my collection. And then they went in and did the deal.
Yeah. Listen, if I hired somebody to get me some art and they cut it, fight. Right there. I don't even like to highlight my books.
I know.
Don't cut hundreds of years old pieces of artwork. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay. So when the police arrived the next morning, they found that a hidden door that was behind one of the paintings was slightly ajar. And when I say hidden, I mean it just like a wall panel hidden door. Who would know about that door? The thieves knew where they kept the VHS tapes for the security cameras and took the tapes.
Oh my God.
But there was a backup.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. And the alarm for the Rembrandt painting went off. But, okay, so I guess there might have been an alarm of some form. I don't know if the alarm went to the police or if the alarm went to the security people.
Yeah.
But the alarm for the Rembrandt painting did go off, and they just continued on what they were doing, seemingly confident that no one was coming. And one really, really interesting thing is that the data shows that the thieves never entered the Blue Room. The Blue Room was the only one where that was on the first floor.
Mm-hmm.
And the Blue Room was the one that had the, I think the Chaise Tortoni?
Yeah, but they never went into it.
No, the only person that went into the Blue Room was Rick when he was shutting off the fire alarm earlier that night, before the thieves even showed up.
That
Again,
is interesting.
We're not saying definitively it was Rick.
That is just an interesting...
It is suspicious.
Happenstance.
Yes. And so, again, if the thieves ever went in there, how was something stolen? Because we did see earlier that night that the motion detectors were working. Now, granted, the security at this place was not very good, and one of the previous guards did an interview and said that some nights they just kind of didn't work that great.
Okay.
So, but the possibilities of them not working at that moment weren't very high.
Right. Okay.
And a few months before that, Rick had let a few people into the museum around midnight on New Year's Eve.
Oh, man.
And he was kind of notorious for being high. He was in a band and did the drugs and the drinking and all that stuff. So, and he had already put in his 2-week notice before this happened.
Wow.
So, did the thieves know that Rick would let them in? Also, another thing is that Rick and some of the other security guards said that they were complaining about the security there, saying that it wasn't good enough. And Rick even said in his interview that it was very possible that he complained about it to the wrong person.
Yeah.
At like a party. And they overheard, and they heard that it had, was gonna be, what I'm saying?
Lack security, yeah.
Yeah. In 1981, time machine, back it up a little bit. They were warned that there was a possible robbery. They were warned by the FBI because the FBI caught the guy before he was able to rob the museum. So they already had a threat to begin with 9 years prior. Mm. But the director at the time just brushed it off with the, well, they caught the guy, mentality. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So when the new director took over in December of 1999, like I said before, she didn't have time to catch any of this stuff up. And the FBI claimed that they had spoken to multiple people throughout the years who claimed they had scoped the museum out before. Because art theft was wild at this time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people were using it as get out of jail free cards. Because if you were a criminal and you were convicted of this crime, but there's this historic piece of artwork that's been missing and you know where it's at,
you can use that as
the
leverage.
FBI, they'll work with you.
Yeah.
Because they want that art back. So you can get a sentence reduced by half. I mean, even more. So, unfortunately, when the FBI finally did show up, and not just the police, to the scene, evidence had been tampered with.
Mm.
So the duct tape around Rick's hands went missing. They could have got fingerprints off of that.
Yeah.
Doors had been opened or closed, so agents didn't know what doors the thieves went in and out of and couldn't really get, so because 1990s.
I feel like there were multiple opportunities to dust for prints, though, with the frames and stuff.
I don't know.
Anyway.
Apparently they just didn't do a good job. And I remember them saying that the FBI agent that was on the case was 26 years old.
Okay. So little green in the horns.
Yeah, just a little bit. Potentially. And witness... What was that word? Oh my God. Okay. So witnesses claim that the sketches of the thieves looked nothing like the people they saw. But then others later on said that they did. And I'll explain that later. But also, the witnesses were interviewed one time and then were never contacted again. It was they just didn't.
No follow-up at all.
No. And the museum doesn't think that that it was getting the FBI's full attention.
Yeah.
Because, to the point to where a security tape was released for the first time in 2015.
Wow.
25 years later. No one had ever seen it before.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And it was released to the public to be do you know this person? And it turned out to be an employee or something like that. But what else was withheld from the public that could have helped?
Yeah. That's the whole reason they have America's Most Wanted and those types of TV shows to help the public. Or the public can help.
At the time, the same week of the robbery, there were huge indictments of the Italian and Irish mob in Boston going on at the same time. So the FBI was a bit distracted.
That's fair. That's very fair.
Yeah, because the FBI were set out to destroy the mobs. And, like I said at the time, art was used as international currency, sentencing, reducing collateral, paying mob debts, buying guns, or just bargaining chips in general. So, theories as to what happened. Inside job, ? So yeah, some theorize that Rick had poked his head out to like signal to the thieves that he was about to take over the desk and like, we're good to go. And let's see, is there anything I haven't mentioned about Rick? Nope. Basically, Party Rick was either in on it or was at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the Dr. No theory. And the Dr. No theory is a rich guy paid someone to steal them.
Okay.
So, they could have them for himself.
Going full James Bond.
But the problem, full James Bond. And that's what they called it in the documentary, the Dr. No theory. But the problem with that is that the thieves would see the reward. Because what I didn't tell you is that there was, right after that happened, they put a $1 million reward for any evidence that would lead to the paintings. Mm-hmm. So, the problem is that the thieves would see the reward and then rat out whoever hired them and then cash out, and then they basically get paid twice, right?
Potentially. I mean, unless what they were getting paid, they're like, nah, we don't need that extra $1 million. You know? True. And I also put, unless they were killed, like...
That's
also, yikes, but that's also a possibility.
Yikes. Yeah.
Or the art was more important than the money, because again, like, they didn't steal the most valuable things. They stole very specific things, so I wonder if they're like, the money isn't as important as this art that we stole.
Exactly. Maybe. So, you can't sell these on the open market. Everybody knows what they are.
Yeah.
So they either had a buyer already lined up, or some form or way to not dispose of them, but to get them, regardless of whether it's the Dr. No theory or they had a plan for them already. And so Miles Connor. So he was a local known art thief. His father was a police officer. His stepbrother was a police officer. And his other brother was a priest.
Mm.
And he was a rock and roller art thief.
A roller color art thief?
A roller color art thief. Yes, of course. So, no, but he was like in a band and stuff, and then like stole art from this, like on the side.
Wait,
but he swears he had nothing to do with it.
Was he in a band with Rick?
I don't think so.
Okay, that'd be very interesting.
But how funny
if they were in the same band.
You know what? Boston isn't that big.
They could at least be in the same scene.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. But he swears he had nothing to do with it because he was in jail for another heist at the time.
Well, there you go.
He had it was the Museum of Fine Arts. That's the name of the museum. So he had stolen a Rembrandt from the Museum of Fine Arts.
Man, these guys are just going after the Rembrandts.
Poor Rembrandt. I know. I mean, I bet he's flattered, though, from the grave. I mean, he has art worth stealing.
He's like, they're trying to steal my art, no one else's.
Kiss my ass, man, go. They're not stealing your shit.
Yeah.
Monet. Well, actually, I think one of his did get stolen. But anyway, so he played rock and roll and stole art, which is a weird combo, but whatever.
So rock and roller color.
They interviewed him. Like, he's in the documentary.
Really? That's really funny.
Yeah. So there's that. And all of this that I'm about to say has been going on for years, the investigations and stuff like that. Again, we don't have 4 hours, so sorry. Watch the documentary if you want finer details. But Miles, while he was in jail, had a kind of petty art thief acquaintance. So Miles had this trailer, and it was like a 18-wheeler trailer that he kept a lot of his stuff in while he was in jail. And we're talking stuff that he stole. And Miles had this, I guess, buddy that while he was in jail, this guy by the last name of Youngworth would take care of his stuff. So he was a caretaker of the stuff while he was gone. But the caretaker was selling the stuff while Miles was in jail and making money off of it. So the caretaker comes forward and says that he has information about the stolen art. So one agent convinced the caretaker to show him one of the pieces as proof, because he's like, you can keep telling us you have these paintings and stuff all day long, but we're not going to believe you unless you give us something to work with.
Right.
And so Youngworth takes him to an undisclosed location where he shows him a painting that looks like the Sea of Galilee rolled up in a tube.
Wow.
I'm in pain. But the agents couldn't tell if it was a forgery or not. But if y'all don't know, again, it's not like a piece of paper. If you roll these old-ass paintings up, they're already cracking.
Mm-hmm.
You will just crack all of the paint off of them.
Yeah.
So now, all I'm thinking is, like, even if they are still out there, they're ruined.
I'm gonna have to put them back together like a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah. If you have all the pieces of paint. So, they were then sent pictures of paintings, but it was too inclusive to act on. Then they were sent paint chips that seemed accurate as far as, like, timeline-wise, but the color wasn't right, and the FBI felt like it was giving into extortion if they gave anyone else immunity for paintings. So that lead kind of just fizzled out. They still don't know if those were, real or not.
So I actually just looked up the Sea of Galilee painting. You can buy it for $259.99 on Wayfair.com.
Oh, nice. Okay.
But it actually says, like, in the little info page on Google, that the location is the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum until 1990. I just thought that was... like, it specifies it. But it was painted in 1633. Emily is deceased.
Someone out there in just an old house, probably next to, like, I don't know, a field in 1633, just painting.
Yeah.
And it lasted this long.
Hundreds of years.
Someone went and fucked it up.
Isn't that what always happens?
Oh, God. Yes.
That it was
also
600 or 360 years.
Oh my God. 360? Someone turned its life around.
But not for the better.
I know. If you look really closely at that painting, Rembrandt painted himself in the boat.
Oh, really?
And it's looking back. He's looking back at you. It's really cool.
Is he the one holding his cap?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He painted himself in there. Isn't it cute?
That is really cute. These guys are in for it. They're not having a good time.
Jesus is just chilling.
Yeah, he's just
chilling. Like, I don't know why y'all are worried. We ain't gonna sink. And they're like, we're gonna sink. We're not gonna sink.
Literally vomiting over the side of the ship. I mean, it is a beautiful painting.
It is. There's so much movement.
I was literally just about to say the movement of it, the water, like the spray. all these poor men, like, hanging on for their dear lives.
Oh, he is throwing up, isn't he? Poor guy. Jesus has literally got the, like, bruh, why did you wake me up for this look?
Yeah. Which, I mean, that's what happened in the story, right? Like, he was napping, and they're like, Jesus, save us. And it's like, leave me alone, I'm trying to nap. I'm like, please. And then he, like, lifts his hand, and, like, the water is immediately calm or something. I don't know, it's been a long time since I listened to Bible stories.
He was probably like, those waves were rocking me like a little baby. Leave me alone. Okay.
Anyway.
You ready to get into the last theory?
Yes.
And more than likely what happened?
Sure.
It was the mob!
Oh! Yeah.
The mob!
That makes sense.
My voice cracked.
The mob!
Okay, so, no, the mob! Another theory, since the mob was being slowly destroyed by the police and kind of from the inside out, they decided to steal from the museum to continue to make money or to barter for lesser sentences. So, a member of the Italian mob, and I'm going to do this as best as I can, guys. The member of the Italian mob, Bobby Donati, was friends with Miles Connor. They were all connected in the art thief world. So, Bobby Donati was going to barter the paintings to get a mob leader out of jail. And the FBI had already been following Bobby after the theft for other things, but then after a couple of years, they were like, I think he might be the guy. Undercover agent learned that very soon before the theft, Bobby had showed up somewhere called the Shack with a paper bag that contained 2 Boston police uniforms. But Bobby was murdered September 24th of 1991.
Oh, damn.
And Miles Connor claims that the whole thing was set up by Donati. So Miles claimed that he knew that Donati had set it up. But here's my little theory. Miles was in jail at the time. Donati needed a place to hide the paintings. Where else better if he knows that Miles is in jail than Miles' own trailer?
Yeah.
Well, then the caretaker starts selling shit. So I think at least, and some of them, I don't think were in there, but this is just me. I could be very off. I am not an FBI agent, okay? But I think it would be really interesting if, like, Donati hid some of the paintings in the trailer, and then the caretaker found them, and then that's how all of that was connected.
I mean, that would be crazy. And, like, the caretaker just was like, oh, here's more paintings. I'll just sell them on the black market, too.
Yeah.
And that's why they've never been found.
But then he realized that, yeah, but I think he knew at least some of them.
Maybe.
But, okay. So, Donati had this group of people that were notorious for stealing things and other various mob-related crimes.
Yes.
And one woman said she was helping her brother-in-law, who was part of this group, hang a small portrait in her brother-in-law's bedroom. It was a fucking Chase Tortoni.
Oh, wow.
And her brother-in-law had died soon after that from a cocaine overdose, and she never saw the painting again.
Oh. But
she didn't know that it was the Chase until after. I mean, she was just like, man, she literally called it the ugliest painting she'd ever seen. She calls it the Chase Tortellini.
Oh my gosh.
I like her.
That's so funny.
Yeah, so her brother-in-law is one of the men that is claimed to look, and he does, by God, he looks just like one of the police drawings, which is super weird.
That is weird.
It's weird. So some believe that he was found dead, and then the group took the painting back. So another person in this group, Turner, his last name's Turner, was later seen with pulling a vase that looked like the Chinese one out of his trunk, because they were watching the group. And before that, he had purchased a bunch of equipment from a spy shop in Miami. Spies.
Totally spies.
Spy kids. So they were able to get someone in there to with a wire to infiltrate the group, and they were able to bust them for potential crimes. They all denied being involved with the museum, and sting after sting was set up to, like, arrest them for something, and then be like, walk away right now if you tell us where the paintings are. No one ever fessed up.
Wow.
So they had another lead to one of the members' houses. The whole SWAT team showed up, and they didn't find anything. They found some suspicious stuff, but they didn't find, anything. And it's hard to believe that none of them would use the paintings to get a shorter sentence, because the ones that weren't killed, because some of them died, some of them went to jail, they could have just said, I know where they're at, let me out of jail or whatever. But David Turner stayed in jail until, like, 2022. I mean, he was only recently let out. And one guy in the group, who was Donati's friend, was dying. And his wife said that he needed to get rid of the paintings. So they met up with someone else and, like, got rid of the paintings before that guy died of cancer. And then, so in 2012, on the anniversary, the FBI made a statement that they were confident that they knew who did it, but all parties were dead.
Oh, man.
So they still don't know where the art is. Some of the people in that crew, I think most of them are dead. I think it's really just Turner that's alive now. And some died by, like, murder, mysterious death kind of a thing.
Well, I mean, if you're tied to the mob, that's usually how it goes.
Yeah.
I don't think the mob has a retirement plan.
Yeah. They don't. You either die or you're just rich and you go buy an island somewhere, I think. Yeah. I think that's the retirement plan. So, apparently, in 2021, a local Bostonian jewelry appraiser said that a couple weeks after the heist, Bobby Donati, who he was friends with, came in and showed the appraiser the finial and asked how much it was worth.
Oh.
But he didn't come forward with that information. The appraiser didn't until 5 years prior to 2021, because he feared for his life.
I mean, makes
sense. From Donati.
Yeah.
Fair. Even though Donati was dead a long time ago, there's still connections.
Yeah.
So
you don't rat out.
Yeah. Yeah. So the artwork today, like I said, none of them had ever been found. They do have the empty frames hanging as placeholders.
Oh, that's so
for the
sad.
Missing art. It is sad. You walk through and there's just empty frames.
Yeah, it's just
I hate that.
This was here. But I mean, I also think it's like important to I understand it as like a history of the museum in and of itself. Like, yeah, this happened and it really sucks and we lost some beautiful, valuable works of art. And we're going to include that in the history of this museum. Yeah.
Yeah. So, the missing artwork still remains a top priority for the museum, FBI, and the U.S. Attorney's Office. The museum is offering a $10 million reward for information leading directly to the safe return of the stolen works. And if you can only find one, you get part of that.
Yeah.
So, So anyone with information about the stolen artwork should contact Director of Security Anthony Amore at 617-278-5114 or email them at reward@gardnermuseum.org. Confidentiality is assured. Right. And at that, we are done.
Ooh, that was so interesting. Thank you, Emileigh, for sharing that story. Oh, man.
It's a wild ride.
Very much is. Like, I love learning about art heists, but they always make me sad.
Yeah, me too, because they're not always recovered or they're damaged.
Yeah.
And I think you know how there's that TikTok trend going around about, like, what's your Roman Empire? Like, how often men think about the Roman Empire.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know about that? I've come to realize that my Roman Empire is the Nazis stealing all of the art out of Europe. I think about that missing art
all the time.
Probably at least 3 times a week. I think about it all the time.
That's so funny.
I know, where did it go?
What priceless treasures? Like the Amber Room. What happened to the Amber Room?
What happened to the Amber Room? The statues, the artwork, everything that wasn't hidden got just yanked, and like where did it go?
It's all in underground bunkers.
They're probably flooded now.
Yeah,
fuck the Nazis.
Fuck the Nazis, man.
And apparently the mob too. No, I'm not saying that.
The
mob is fine. Got it. I'm cutting it. Don't come at me, literally.
I was going to say, now it's your turn to cover a bunch of World War II stuff. Now you got all those books.
I do. I might, maybe some World War I.
There you go.
Maybe I might just flip to a random one of these. An Army of Two. This one sounds fun.
Actually, I picked up a book at Sam's Club. I think I showed you this. But it's a very thick book. It's called Stupid History, and it's just filled with, like, paragraphs of dumb things that have happened in history. So.
I love that. Maybe that should be a bonus episode of just, like, crazy.
I just read from this book. Like, this happened, and then this happened, and this happened. The biggest issue I have with the book is that there's no organization to it. So I can't look up, like, it's not in order by year. It's not in chronological order. It's not in, like, grouped by, like, area or time period.
Oh.
It's just random events. And so, like, I can't, like, look up something specific. There's no index or anything.
There's no index? I was about to ask if there was nothing.
No. I think there's a bibliography, but there's no index.
You're gonna have to go and, like, get sticky notes and then just in a row and write what is what on there.
I know.
And that sounds painstaking.
It is. I bought it, but I haven't really looked through it yet. But anyway, We are almost 2 hours into this episode.
Shit! Sorry, guys. Damn it.
Emily in for the deep dives.
And I literally, this is less than half of what those documentaries were, so I cut out a lot.
Yeah. No, it was very interesting. And it is very much like an unsolved mystery. And I'm dying to know, like, who did it.
Who done it?
Who done it? Where are they?
Where are they? So, if you like this, let us know. You can email us at illequippedhistory@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. If you just look up Ill-Equipped History, you're gonna find us. And do we have anything else? We have a Patreon now. So give us some monies.
Yes, and once we get a good list of names going, we'll do shout outs on air.
And so don't steal from museums.
Yeah, don't do it. Just go observe, appreciate, buy something from the gift shop, and then be on your way.
Drink a glass of wine if you're at the Museum of Fine Arts. Chug it like we did.
Oh my god. I literally, another Boston story, because we were just full of hijinks. The three of us, Emily, myself, and our friend Corey, were at the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. And there was this one part where they had like this little wine cafe. And we're like, yes, let's get a cup of wine.
We're going to be like classy,
yes.
Right?
And so we're sipping our wine and we're chatting. And then we think behind us there is this exhibit of like lights. And so I look at Emily in the eyes and I said, what if we chug this wine and get really drunk and go look at the lights? And she looked back at me in my eyes and she said, I've never loved you more than I love you right now. And we pounded our wine back and then ran to what we thought was a light exhibit. It was not. But we still had a good time. And then I saw the biggest painting I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, I was like, ah!
It was so big. It was like, what, 2 stories tall? I think it was huge.
More than that, I think. I don't remember.
I'd like to see the thieves try to steal that fucker. My God.
It was like 40-foot tall painting.
It's huge.
Gosh, I would have to dig through a lot to find it, but It was a very big painting. I think it was of a saint, a baptism. I'm not sure.
I thought someone was dying.
I think it was a baptism. I'd have to look.
Oh, we're having 2 totally different memories of what that was.
Alright, I'm going back to it.
Okay. I really thought it was of someone like...
I mean, it was definitely, like, not a very happy painting, for sure.
Oh, yeah, here it is.
There it is, yeah. Okay.
Someone was dying.
Maybe, yeah. I'm trying to zoom in to see if I can see the name. I'd say it's like 2.5 story tall painting, maybe. I don't know.
It's huge.
Anyway.
So don't steal shit, and if you do, give it back.
Yeah, don't. Well, how about we just don't steal, you guys?
Yeah, especially 360-year-old art, because that's rude as hell.
Yeah, please don't.
So, okay, bye!
Okay, bye!